I'm Dr. Johnny, and let me tell you something I see every single week in my clinic. A patient walks in with fear written all over their face, clutching lab results that show creatinine climbing higher and higher. They swear they've done everything right, taken their medications, cut back on salt, followed the kidney diet by the book, and yet their numbers refuse to drop. Maybe that sounds like you. Maybe you've sat there wondering if your kidneys are silently shutting down while you do everything in your power to save them. Here's the shocking truth I've had to break to so many people. Sometimes it's not your kidneys at all. It's your food. 5 everyday foods, common familiar, the kind you probably ate this week, are quietly sabotaging your blood work. They flood your body with creatinine so quickly that even the most accurate test gets distorted. And the heartbreaking part is that nobody warns you about this. Your doctor may never mention it. You sit in fear, believing you're slipping closer to kidney failure, when in reality, last night's dinner may be the culprit. The science is undeniable. Research shows just one serving of these hidden foods can spike creatinine by over 50% within hours. Think about that. One steak, one bowl of soup, one so-called healthy protein, and suddenly your results scream danger when your kidneys might still be okay. That false alarm leads to sleepless nights, unnecessary treatments, and years of worry that never should have happened. But here's where I step in. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the 5 specific foods that distort your creatinine numbers, explain what they really do inside your body, and give you the timing tricks that make your test results finally tell the truth. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you'll never look at your dinner plate or your lab results the same way again. When I think back to some of the most panicked patients I've met, one man comes to mind. He was in his 60s, healthy, still working part-time, and terrified because his creatinine had spiked overnight. He thought his kidneys were collapsing. But when I asked him what he'd eaten the night before his test, his answer was simple: a big steak dinner with my family. And right there, the mystery unraveled. Here's the science: red meat like beef and lamb naturally stores creatine inside the muscle fibers. The moment you cook that meat, grill it, roast it, fry it, that creatine is transformed into creatinine. It's not something your body slowly makes. It's already preformed in the food. The minute you eat it, it slides into your bloodstream and pushes your numbers up fast. Research from the University of Bristol found that just one average portion, about 225 grams, the size of a good ribeye, raised creatinine by more than 50% within hours. That's not kidney disease. That's simple chemistry, and here's why it's dangerous when your doctor checks your blood work the next morning. Those elevated results don't reflect your true kidney health. They reflect your dinner. I've seen patients lose sleep, get put on stricter medication, even rush to see specialists, all because their weekend barbecue sabotaged the test. It's heartbreaking, and yet it happens every day in America. The solution isn't to banish meat forever. It's about timing. If you've got blood work scheduled, don't eat steak burgers or lamb the night before. Give your kidneys at least 12 to 24 hours to clear the dietary creatinine, and you'll get numbers that actually tell the truth about your health. But just knowing this isn't enough, because what most people do next is switch to healthier proteins like fish or chicken, believing they're in the clear. And that's where the real surprise comes in. I used to think fish and chicken were the safe zone. Lean, packed with protein, no heavy fat. I even told patients years ago to choose grilled salmon or chicken breast instead of steak. But then I started noticing something strange: creatinine levels weren't dropping. In fact, some were staying high no matter how clean the diet looked. One patient, a fitness enthusiast in his 50s, ate chicken for lunch, salmon for dinner, and egg whites in the morning. His creatinine refused to settle, and he was terrified. That's when the pattern finally clicked. Here's the catch: fish and poultry also carry creatine in their muscle tissue. Just like beef once cooked, that creatine turns into creatinine before it even touches your tongue. The body absorbs it directly, flooding your bloodstream. A study from Harvard Medical School showed that high-protein diets with lean meats can distort eGFR, the key calculation doctors use to estimate kidney function. In other words, the healthier you try to eat, the more your numbers may look artificially alarming. Think about it. A single chicken breast weighs around 8 ounces bigger than that 225-gram steak in the last example. That's enough to raise creatinine significantly higher. And when people repeat this pattern every day, chicken salad at noon, Salmon dinner at night, the result is a constant wave of creatinine running through the system. Instead of one spike, it becomes a steady elevation. And that makes it almost impossible to get a clean baseline reading during lab tests. The lesson here isn't to fear protein, but to recognize timing and variety. If you've got blood work coming up, scaling back on chicken, turkey, or fish for at least a day can give your kidneys breathing room to clear things out. Pairing this with plant proteins, even temporarily, can dramatically improve test accuracy without sacrificing your health. But here's where things get even more dangerous. Because while fish and poultry can quietly raise your numbers, the real explosion comes from something sold at every supplement store, promising bigger muscles and better workouts. And that's where creatinine confusion hits a whole new level. One of the biggest shocks in my career came when a young athlete sat in my office pale with fear. He just had a routine blood test and his creatinine was so high, the lab flagged it as possible kidney failure. He was 26, fit, no medical history. I knew something wasn't right, so I asked, "Are you taking any supplements?" He nodded. Creatine powder every morning, and instantly the puzzle solved itself. Here's what happens. Creatine supplements, powders, pills, shakes are designed to supercharge your muscles, but your body can only store so much. The rest it gets processed by your liver and turns straight into creatinine. Unlike food sources that convert gradually, supplements dump a massive surge of creatine all at once, which then floods into your bloodstream as creatinine. Studies show these spikes can double or even triple your baseline levels overnight. That's why otherwise healthy athletes end up panicked, sent to kidney specialists, all because of numbers that never told the full truth. What makes this so dangerous is persistence. Even when you stop taking creatine, those elevated readings can linger for days. So if you walk into a blood test right after your morning scoop, your doctor may believe your kidneys are failing, when in reality it's the supplement fooling the test. And for people who actually do have kidney concerns, it's even worse because the artificial elevation masks real decline, hiding the early warning signs that matter most. The fix is simple but critical. If you take creatine, always pause before lab work. Give your body at least a week off so your test reflects reality, not your workout routine. And always tell your doctor because context changes everything. But if you think supplements are the worst offenders, you're in for another surprise. Because there's an entire category of foods hidden in nearly every American kitchen that doesn't add creatinine directly, but quietly weakens your kidney's ability to clear it. And that's where the real long-term damage begins. I'll never forget the day I reviewed the grocery receipts of one of my patients. She was a busy grandmother living on frozen dinners, canned soups, and packaged snacks. "Doctor," she said, "I don't eat much meat. I don't take supplements. So why is my creatinine still so high?" When I looked at her diet, the answer jumped off the page: sodium, mountains of it. Here's the truth most people never hear. Sodium doesn't add creatinine directly to your blood, but it strangles your kidney's ability to clear the creatinine that's already there. Every time you down a frozen pizza or a can of soup, your blood pressure surges. That pressure beats down on tiny kidney filters called nephrons, the very structures responsible for cleaning creatinine out of your blood. Over time, those filters stiffen, weaken, and lose efficiency. The National Kidney Foundation warns that more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day is dangerous, yet the average American consumes almost double that without realizing it. Think of it this way, it's like running a car engine with clogged oil filters. The dirt builds up faster than the filter can clear it. That's what sodium does to your kidneys. And it's not just the obvious culprits like chips or fries. Even healthy foods, vegetable juices, deli meats, protein bars can hide shocking sodium loads that quietly sabotage your kidneys day after day. The solution isn't about cutting every grain of salt, but about awareness. Read labels. Swap canned soup for homemade low-sodium versions. Season food with herbs, garlic, or lemon instead of reaching for the salt shaker. Just a few simple changes can lower the pressure on your kidneys and give them the chance to flush out creatinine more effectively. But sodium isn't the final villain in this story. There's one more culprit left: the comfort food we all grew up with, the warm bowls of broth and soup we believe heal us when we're sick. Yet what they really deliver is a concentrated dose of liquid creatinine straight into your bloodstream. And that's the shock most people never see coming. One of the hardest conversations I've ever had was with a woman in her 70s who swore she lived on healing soups. Every night she simmered chicken bones or beef for hours, believing it was the purest, most nourishing thing for her body. Yet every test showed her creatinine climbing. She was devastated, asking me, how could something my mother always told me was good be hurting me now? Here's the hidden truth. When you boil meat for hours, the creatine inside muscle fibers dissolves into the cooking water. The prolonged heat doesn't just release it, it transforms it directly into creatinine. And because it's already in liquid form, your body absorbs it almost instantly. The National Institutes of Health has even measured creatinine levels in meat broth so high they rival the concentrations used in medical labs for testing. In other words, every spoonful of that comforting soup is like drinking liquid creatinine. Think about the difference. A steak may give you one spike that fades after 12 hours, but a bowl of broth delivers the equivalent of several steaks in one sitting, and the spike can last well into the next day. Restaurant soups, canned broths, and bone broth powders concentrate it even further, magnifying the effect. That's why patients who swear off red meat in supplements still can't understand why their lab results look so frightening, because the culprit was hiding in their soup bowl all along. The fix here is not to give up comfort, but to rethink it. Vegetable-based soups, lentil stews, or miso broths can provide warmth and nourishment without drowning your kidneys in creatinine. Making the switch even a few times a week can dramatically change how your numbers look. But now comes the most important part. Because eating these 5 foods isn't just about one bad meal, it creates a dangerous fog that misleads both you and your doctor. And when test results no longer tell the truth, the consequences can be life-changing in ways you may never expect. When I step back and look at the bigger picture, the danger of these 5 foods goes far beyond what's on your dinner plate. The real threat is how they distort the truth about your kidneys. I've watched patients lose years of peace living in fear that dialysis was around the corner, when in fact their kidneys were holding steady. Their test results were simply hijacked by last night's meal. On the flip side, I've seen the opposite too. People with real kidney decline hidden under a steady diet of meat soups and supplements, lulled into false reassurance because their numbers always look normal. By the time the truth revealed itself, precious time had been lost. That's the nightmare. We're making life-changing medical decisions, starting medications, scheduling scans, even planning for dialysis based on numbers that may not reflect reality. Imagine spending thousands on follow-up tests, rushing to see specialists, and lying awake at night, terrified only to discover later that your steak or bowl of soup was the real culprit. It's not just frustrating, it's dangerous. Because every unnecessary treatment carries risks, and every delayed diagnosis steals time you can't get back. The heartbreaking part is how preventable it all is. With just a little awareness, so much anxiety and confusion could be avoided. But most patients never hear about the food connection. Doctors focused on lab values rarely ask what you had for dinner the night before. And so the cycle continues: fear, confusion, misdiagnosis, wasted time. This is why knowledge is power. When you understand how everyday foods interfere with creatinine, you no longer feel trapped in a medical fog. You can see clearly. You can work with your doctor as a partner, not as a helpless patient. And most importantly, you can make decisions based on truth, not distortion. But here's the part that changes everything, because once you know the hidden danger, the next question is, how do you take back control? The answer lies not in restriction or fear, but in timing, substitution, and smart planning. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you next. When my patients finally understand that food, not always kidney failure, can distort their results, the next question they ask me is simple. So what do I do now? And that's where the solution becomes empowering instead of frightening. Because lowering creatinine isn't about starving yourself or living in fear of every meal. It's about smart timing, strategic substitutions, and open communication with your doctor. Let's start with timing. Remember how I said cooked meat, fish, and even broth can raise creatinine for up to 12 to 24 hours? That's your window. If you have lab work scheduled, plan your meals around it. Don't eat red meat or chicken the night before. Skip the bone broth 2 days before. Give your kidneys a chance to clear the dietary creatinine so your numbers reflect reality, not dinner. I tell my patients, if your test is on Monday morning, enjoy your steak on Thursday or Friday night. That way, by the time you're in the lab chair, what's left in your blood is a true picture of your kidney function. Second substitution. Protein is not the enemy. In fact, your body needs it for muscle healing and immune strength. The trick is where it comes from. Plant-based proteins like lentils, quinoa, beans, and hemp seeds deliver all the amino acids your body needs without producing creatinine. I've had patients make a simple swap: lentil soup instead of beef stew, quinoa salad instead of chicken pasta for just 2 days before their blood work, and the difference in results was dramatic. Their kidneys didn't suddenly heal overnight. The fog of dietary interference simply lifted and the truth came into view. Third, sodium awareness. You don't need to live salt-free, but you do need to be smart. Read labels. Aim for under 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day, and if you already have kidney concerns, even lower. Use herbs, spices, garlic, and lemon to bring flavor without the damage. It's not about punishment, it's about giving your kidneys room to breathe. And finally, communication. Too many patients sit silently in their doctor's office, never mentioning they had steak last night or that they're taking creatine supplements. But when you speak up, everything changes. A doctor who knows your recent diet can interpret results in context, avoiding unnecessary panic and focusing on what really matters: your long-term kidney health. The transformation is incredible. Patients who once lived in fear now walk into their appointments confident, knowing their results truly reflect their health. They're no longer guessing, no longer blindsided by numbers that don't make sense, and most importantly, they feel in control again. But here's what makes this most powerful. This isn't just about one lab test. It's about building sustainable habits that protect your kidneys for life. Knowledge without action changes nothing, but knowledge with timing, substitution, and open conversation, that changes everything. And now I want you to hold on, because the final message I have for you may be the most important of all. It's not just about numbers. It's about your peace of mind, your future, and your ability to live without fear. And that's exactly what we'll finish with. I want you to remember this: your health is not defined by one scary number on a piece of paper. You now know the truth behind the foods that can trick your results, and that knowledge alone gives you more power than most patients ever realize. Don't let fear own you, because when you take smart steps, you're already protecting your kidneys in ways that truly matter. If this video helped you, make sure to save it so you can come back before your next lab test. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, because I share the latest life-changing kidney health tips every week, tips your doctor may never have time to explain. By staying connected, you'll always be one step ahead in caring for your kidneys. Most importantly, hold on to hope. High creatinine doesn't mean your future is doomed. With the right awareness, small adjustments, and consistent habits, you can live with confidence and protect your kidneys for years to come. And I'll be here with you every step of the way.